Hi everyone, Letty here. Today I'm going to share with you a craft with me video where we make as many cards, tags, and hot cocoa packs as we can from one Christmas 12 by 12 collection kit. So I recently showed a video for the Smash Our Stash 2021. This month we were trying to use brads, and I used some brads and some of this collection kit, which is My Favorite Christmas by Echo Park, for my projects for this month. But I had some left over, so I wanted to use them up. I ended up making 8 double layered tags as well as 7-dimensional cards as part of the Smash Our Stash video, and this is what I had left over from the kit to work with still. So I have a partial 12 by 12 sticker sheet. I have some small paper scraps. I also have 2 full 12 by 12 sheets. Now I did add 2 extra ones before I started, but I still have 2 of those. And then I have 1 full sheet of the 3 by 4 cut aparts, 2 sheets of the 4 by 4 cut aparts, and then some large paper scraps as well that I want to try to use up. And then I did go ahead and stamp some sentiments to also use. These are the 2 stamp sets that I use, the Impression Obsession stamp as well as the Echo Park stamp that I recently just hauled from their warehouse sale. And this is it right here. So I went ahead and just brought in some extra sentiments just in case. I did pull out some enamel dots, but I did not end up using them. You'll see that I have some number 10 self-seal envelopes from Dollar Tree, a 2-inch scallop circle punch from Hobby Lobby that I'm also going to be using because it's a perfect size for my little stamp sentiment circles. And then I have scissors, my ATG tape runner, and then Barely Art glue. I also have some solid colored cardstock and some A2 size card bases that I've already made. So let's see what we can go ahead and make. The first thing I'm starting out with is some hot cocoa packs or pockets. I am using these number 10 envelopes from Dollar Tree. Basically, the first thing you do is seal the envelopes. This is a tutorial that I've shared on my video before, or on my channel before, several times. It's super easy. You seal them and then you cut them down at 4 1/8 from both sides. So that way you basically form 2 pockets. Now, the reason I cut it down to 4 1/8 is so that way it's a perfect square, and that way I can use a 4 by 4 cut apart and have just a perfect layering around that 4 by 4 cut apart on the envelope. So I feel like it just works really well. So first you just go ahead and add or glue down the 4 by 4 cut apart to the front of the envelope, and just make sure that your orientation is correct on the pocket so that way your hole is open at the top. And you'll notice here that I'm only adding the front mats to these cards or to these hot cocoa packs. I will go back in later and I'll add some of the backs. What I'll do is I'll probably end up using some of my scraps from future projects, or I'll use some of my paperweight paper to put on the back. I have a ton of Christmas theme paper and a lot of Christmas theme, actual paperweight paper. So it's actually thinner that I can just go ahead and cut up and put on the back. So this is a super easy project. And one of the things that I like about these hot cocoa packets is that, especially when I send soldier packets overseas, these are great to just stuff in the box and send them out. So the next thing I'm going to do are some cut apart cards. The first thing I'm going to do is pull out those larger paper scraps that I had and basically cut as many A2 size card mats as I can. A2 size card mat is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So I'm basically going to try to get as many as I can so I can make some cut apart cards. So you see here, I'm just going through and cutting down all of the big scraps into that same 5 1/4 by 4 inch size. Now, the next thing I'm doing is I'm actually going to cut down my scrap strips down to either 5 1/4 inch or 4 inches. And this way it's the width or the height of my card base, and so, or of the card base mat. And so I'm going to basically layer those on my card mats that I just cut. And I did have a couple of extra larger cut aparts that I'm going to just save for some more hot cocoa packs. So instead of 18, I'm going to end up doing 20. So I'm basically just kind of assembly lining, getting everything ready to go before I actually start assembling those actual cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to layer one of my big card mats and maybe some scraps on it to kind of layer all of my card fronts onto my card bases. And then I add the cut apart to the front. And then in this case, I'm adding a sentiment because this one picture did not have a sentiment on it. And then I just repeat the process for all of the cards that I'll be making. Now you can do these one at a time, or you can assembly line them, make all of the card mats and put them onto the card bases, and then later come back and decorate them all at the same time. So you've got several different options. Right here, you see that I'm actually going in and layering all of my bottom layers or my card fronts down before I actually put my sentiments or my cut aparts on them. And then what I'll do is at the end, I'll come back and I'll go ahead and add my cut aparts and add any kind of sentiments and stickers that I want. Now, you can also mix and match patterns for the card mats. You see here that that's exactly what I do. I take two of them, two that will coordinate, and then cut them down. And then I'm basically going to glue one from each type of paper down onto the mat. Now, normally what I do is I cut at about 2 inches from the bottom. So you'll have a 2-inch wide, part of the mat, and then one that's like 3 1/4. But because of where those Santas were at, I didn't want to chop off the heads of the Santas, or just have like legs of the Santas. So I went ahead and cut them a little bit differently to where all of the Santas would be visible on both cards. So again, you can do it any which way you want. I'm just basically showing you a couple of different options that you have. One of the big things that I like to do is what I'm doing on those cards right there, where I basically layer a thick, wide band, like a belly band, around or on the bottom of the mat. And I feel like it just adds so much dimension to it. You can also do what I'm doing here, which is adding a vertical strip. So you can do horizontal scraps, you can do, or you can do vertical ones. Now, I'm also going to do this process where I'm just really kind of doing an assembly line kind of set where I have similar card mats, and I'm basically going to try to find similar scraps to go on top that work. And that way, when I go to glue, I can actually glue, right back to back, several of them instead of doing one at a time. So I feel like sometimes you can just make that process a little easier for yourself if you do duplicates of the same types of patterns or the same types of styles. You'll see here, I'm not really using any types of card sketches. These are just kind of sketches that are my go-tos that I use all the time. And I really like, or I enjoy using these because they're very basic. They're very plain. I don't have to do a whole lot of thinking. I'm basically also able to use up a ton of the scraps. You're going to see at the end of the video, I literally have 3 little bitty scraps of paper, and most people would say that they're not even really usable. In fact, I am just going to put them in the recycle bin. I'm not going to, break my head trying to use them or anything. So again, you've got so many options. You can pull out card sketches. I definitely have seen so many card makers that will pull out those sketches and really kind of maximize and kind of make like a diverse set of cards. I am just not that kind of crafter. I like it quick. I like it easy. I like it simple. I like my cards to just be the whole process to be very relaxing. And so that's why I choose to kind of do just 2 or 3 different basic kind of, styles or kind of patterns on my cards. But again, to each his own. You definitely could pull out sketches and definitely try that as well. So you see here, we're going pretty quickly. I think the full time on this video was just under 3 hours. I think it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. So this process does sometimes take a little bit longer. But again, if you do it in stages, pretty much anything can be done. And so I went and I recorded kind of straight just so I could use for this video, but you can absolutely take it in stages and do just a little bit at a time. And I'm really excited that I was able to use up this entire pack because, when I did my other project for the Smash Our Stash collab this month, I kind of had, a good chunk of this paper left over, and I did not want to put it back in my stash. I unfortunately didn't have enough brads to do a ton of projects, so I just kind of made it work. So basically I'm organizing what I have left, and I did go ahead and cut up the additional cut apart sheet with those black cut aparts. I really like those chalkboard black cut aparts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to organize my cards where I lay out I pick and choose a cut apart to go on each of the card on the card bases. So what I did was I also separated them out by the size of the cut apart because I wanted to use my bigger ones for these A2 size cards. Now you can do one card at a time and pick a card, a sentiment or a cut apart to go on top, or you can do it the way that I'm doing it here, where I'm basically laying out a ton of them and kind of matching all the cut aparts that I want for each card, and then I come back afterwards and just glue them all together in true like assembly line fashion. This is kind of how this will work. But again, you can do it any which way you want. Now, I will end up saving some of those smaller cut aparts at the end of the video. You'll see we are going to make some mini slimline cards. So keep watching for that. We're going to actually make some mini slimline card bases. I'm going to show you what the dimensions are, how you can cut it, and how you can make some very super quick and easy mini slimlines. So now I'm basically going back and adding all of my cut aparts to the fronts of my cards. And you'll see here that I am using some stickers, and I do like to add some additional wet glue to my stickers. I just feel like that makes them more durable, especially if I'm going to be donating them and they're going to end up having to ship overseas or ship, somewhere else. I just feel like it makes them stay longer and they don't start to peel off. You just never know with the quality of some of the stickers. I have nothing against any of these brands and any of these stickers, but what I find is sometimes the stickers start to kind of peel off from some of our paper crafting brands. So just to be on the safe side, I always add wet glue to my stickers, and I've been in that habit for a while now. You absolutely do not have to do that step. I just prefer to do it. Again, because I know I'm going to be shipping all of these cards out as part of donations. And I just want to make sure that, that the cards make it in one piece, right? And they don't end up having, pieces come up by the time they get there or to the recipient. So that's just one trick that I learned. And this Barely Art wet glue is very, very good. I have been enjoying this wet glue very much as far as using it in my projects. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's just very, very good quality. I used to use the Tombow Mono Multi, I think, and I just really, really actually prefer this Barely Art wet glue to the Tombow Mono Multi. I think the Tombow is a little bit more tacky, and this one it sticks just as well, if not better, and it is not tacky. So, and it still dries clear. So I use it for all of my projects. I definitely use it in my cards. You'll see it almost every project that I do. I'll pull out my Barely Art wet glue and I will use it. So definitely check them out if you're in the market to try some different wet glue. Definitely look them up. They're on Instagram, and then order some. I think what I did initially was I bought the mini, which is the 2-ounce bottle, and then I really, really enjoyed it. So I went back when they had a sale, or when there was like a coupon or something, and I bought the larger refill one to just keep refilling. And I really like the 2-ounce size as far as for my projects. It doesn't take up a lot of room. It fits great in the hand. I just really, really like it. So again, if you're in the market, definitely check it out. I think it's definitely worth it, just to, for your paper crafting or any kinds of crafts, really, because I've used it with ribbon. I've used it with all different types of, plastics and enamel things. I think it just works great. So definitely worth, checking out, especially if you're in the market for a new one. One thing I'll also point out is don't forget to use your scraps whenever you're making those cards. Definitely layer them up. So what I have left is this one 12 by 12 sheet. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and maximize this one sheet, make some mini slim lines. I'm cutting them down to 6 by 6 size sections. And then I'm basically sorting my sentiments by vertical or horizontal. So that way I'll know which orientation I need to cut my card base. And I'm basically just cutting it in half at 3 inches, the 6 by 6 paper, and to make basically two card fronts from each 6 by 6 paper. So again, you figure out which orientation you want, and then you just cut it down at 3 inches, depending on whether you want it vertical or horizontal, because it's a 6 by 6. And then now I'm going to go ahead and assemble my mini slim lines. And you saw just a second ago, I went ahead and added a cardstock layer to one of my, images. You can definitely do that as well. And I think it just adds a little bit of something extra. So you definitely can do that also when you're doing these projects. Now, these mini slimlines are very basic. I really thought that little paper was cute with the little Santa trucks. So I wanted to try to showcase as much of the paper as I could. So I also tried to pick out sentiments that mentioned like Santa or delivery or toys or something like that. And so that way I could try to use up all of those sentiments first, since I thought they went really well with the Santa in the little truck. And then you'll see here that I'm also adding some scraps to my cards. And I did go back in and decide to add an additional scrap on that card just to add some additional color. So again, you know, no harm, no foul. You go back in, you fix it, you add more things, you can play around as much as you want. So I am now coming back in and I'm just adding some additional decorations to them. And you'll see here that my little sticker was too small for my 2-inch scallop. So I take out a 1.5-inch circle, cut out some, or punch out some green cardstock of that 1.5-inch circle, and that way I have an additional layer of color on that one sentiment. And then I am going to try to use up the rest of these stickers, so I put as many stickers as I can, and you'll see that I will end up finishing off those stickers. I'll go back in and add some more stickers to my A2 size cards. So I don't have very many scraps left. You can see there, that's literally what I have left. I do have still, you know, a few more cut aparts, but I mean, really don't have that many. One thing I am doing here is I'm cutting up some banners from the more like square-like or kind of more square-ish rectangle pieces. And all you do is you just literally cut the bottom parts to form a banner. And then what I'm doing now is I'm making some solid cardstock A2 size card mats, and then I'm basically layering some of the scraps on top. And so just to try to use up a few more of those scraps and a few more of those sentiments. So you can also make your mats out of cardstock and layer them on. And so you see here, I'm literally just adding a couple different scraps, adding a sentiment to cut apart. I'm adding stickers. I mean, I'm just going to town. And so you can make this as relaxing and as fun as you want. You know, no rules. You just kind of let, you know, your creativity come out and just add, you know, whatever you want to these cards. So that's one of the things I love about card making, is that you literally can just kind of let it flow. It's just so much fun. I am going here and making a few more extra banners. And these banners can be put on both the inside or the outside of the cards. You'll see here where I'm actually going to put some of the banners on the outsides of the cards. And then towards the end, I'm going to actually add some to the inside. So these are pretty versatile. It's just a standard little tip that you can do, especially if you have kind of big spaces of solid, kind of like where I had, you know, in that top right corner of that card, it was just a big solid section of green. You can add a little banner, and I actually added some of the sticker sentiments right on top because I felt like they needed something extra. And then after I added the sticker, I felt like it just looked a little better. We are reaching the end. So at this point, I'm just trying to use up the rest of my scraps, the rest of my stickers, and then we're basically going to call it a day. So you see here, I'm just adding some additional banners. This is such a simple process. I really, you know, invite you or challenge you to go in, pull out a 12 by 12 paper pack, and see what you can make with the one pack. You're going to see here that we've got several different options, and really the sky's the limit when you take out a fresh new paper pack. You can do pretty much anything. I especially love making cards, and you can see here my cards are not super fancy. They're basic, they're plain, especially when I know I'm going to be donating them, because I try to make them a little flatter. But you know, especially for like the holidays, you definitely want to stock up. And so I thought this was just a fun project. And again, my goal here was that I did not want to put that paper pack or that partial pack back into my stash. So I feel like, you know, I definitely accomplished that because I did not end up having anything to put back into the stash, which was nice. So again, I definitely, if you have not tried smashing an entire 12 by 12 paper pack, I definitely highly recommend it. So you see here, I have used up all of the stickers now. And at this point now, I'm literally just going to use up the last little bits of scraps that you see there in the top kind of left-hand corner. And again, you can add those banners to the inside or to the outside of your cards. So, and then you can also add scraps to the inside of your cards as well. So you see here, I have a couple of just like longer scraps that I'm just going to layer on the inside of a couple of cards until I get down to pretty much no scraps. Super quick, super easy, and a great way of using up your scraps. So we're moving on. I am ready to finish up with my mini slimlines. I take out some 11" by 8.5" paper. I'm cutting on the 11" side at 6 1/4, and then you cut at 6 1/2 on the 8.5" side. So again, on the 11" side, you cut at 6 1/4, and then you cut at 6 1/2 on the 8.5. You fold it in half, or you could also score at 3 1/4 on the 6 1/2" side. Now, this is the key thing: is you have to make sure you're folding it in half on the 6 1/2" side. If you don't want to fuss with which side am I doing, then, or which side do I fold on, just go ahead and cut your card base to 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. Make it easy on yourself. Or 6 1/2 by 6 1/2. Make it easy on yourself. And that way you don't have to worry about it. But if you want it to have an even border, you're going to want to use a 6 1/2 by 6 1/4" paper, and then fold on your 6 1/2" side. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding my card fronts onto my mini slimline card bases. I did have 2 additional cut aparts that I make 2 more hot cocoa packs. Those are the ones that I said I was going to save because I thought they were big enough to fit. So here's what we have. I have used up all the stickers. I have 5 little cut aparts left. And then I have 3 little minimal scraps, which I will be putting in the recycle. And so here's what I ended up with: 24 A2 size flat cards. Again, flat, they're not dimensional at all. Now, I can always come back and add more stickers, add some enamel dots, maybe add some jemmies. But I think because I'll likely be donating all of these, I'm just going to leave them as is for now and just leave them flat. So you can see here, there's several different ways you can do these cards, several different, renditions or styles or formats or, sketches or whatever for the actual card fronts. You got so many options. I think cut apart cards are some of my favorite cards to make because they're just so easy. So easy. So those are my A2 size flat cards. I also have 8 mini slimline cards. Again, we made all 8 of these cards with one 12 by 12 sheet of pattern paper. Super fun, super quick, super easy, and they still do the job. They do the trick. So those were the mini slimlines. And then I also have 20 hot cocoa packs or pockets. Now, I did only decorate the front. I will go back in and add some additional maybe paperweight paper to the back side. Again, 4 by 4" backside mat. And those will round out or finish up those hot cocoa packs. It's a quick and easy project for those 4 by 4 cut aparts. And then the next thing I did were the 8 double layer tags with brads. That was from my original project share from the Smash Our Stash collab. And I also did the 7 A2 dimensional cards as well, also for the Smash Our Stash collab. And so that's what I ended up making: a ton of cards, some tags, some hot cocoa packs, using the My Favorite Christmas Echo Park collection. 67 total items from this one pack. Thanks for visiting, everybody. Hope you subscribe, like this video, and follow me on Instagram. Thanks, and happy crafting.